Clever is cute, but clear is profitable. Today, we are going to pick a business name that you won't regret and build a simple identity so you can get visible without getting overwhelmed. Welcome to the Growth Table, Simplifying Small Business. I'm Karen Velez, a multi-passionate entrepreneur with 25 plus years growing small businesses and helping others do the same. These first 10 episodes are designed to be your roadmap to creating a business around your passions that you can stay passionate about or reigniting that passion for a business you already have. This episode is for you if you are stuck in the naming spiral or you're ready to refresh the look and feel of a business that you've already started. By the end, you will have a short list of names, a way to test them quickly, and a one-page brand starter that you can use on your website and your social profiles right away. So what makes a great name and what doesn't? Well, let's start simple. A great name is 4 things. Number 1, it's sayable. People can pronounce it the first time they see it. Number 2, it's spellable. If they hear it once, they can type it without guessing. Number 3, it's searchable. You are findable online without competing with 10 famous things. And 4, it's stretchable. It fits your first offer and it doesn't box in your future. That's it. If you only follow those 4 rules, you will avoid 90% of the pain that I see with small business names. Now, what doesn't make a great name? Inside jokes, complicated puns, names that are so generic that they disappear in a search, names that are so trendy that they feel stale next year, okay? A little bit of a reality check here. You can build a great business with a good name. You don't need a perfect name, right? We're optimizing for clarity and momentum. We don't need poetry here. It's not that serious. We just want to make sure that your business name represents what your business does and that people are able to find you logically. So we have 5 little simple tricks that we can use, sort of paths that we can use to brainstorm the business name, okay? So just use one. I will give you a quick example of each one of these as we go along. So path number 1 would be to be descriptive. Say what it is. So, River City Bookkeeping, Weekend Yard Care, Cottage Candle Company, whatever it is. It's instantly clear. Everybody knows immediately who you are and what you do. Very simple. Now, the problem with this is that it might overlap with some other people who are in your area or online, so you might need to pair this with a strong tagline. Path number 2 is to be evocative. Suggest the benefit or the feeling that they get from using your product or your service. So Bright Path Coaching, Steady Loom Studios, North Star Advisors, right? It's memorable, but it's also flexible. Again here though, you might need a clear tagline to anchor what it is that you do. It's not quite as specific as that first path. Path number 3 would be the founder path. Use your name if it adds trust. Mary Jane Consulting, Martinez Family Farms, right? There's built-in credibility here if people already know you and know what you do. Plus, this makes it a personal brand, and that gives you a little bit of flexibility. The downside to this is that it might be harder to sell or to scale without you, the namesake, being involved. Now, this is not a problem if you don't need to scale much larger, but keep that in mind. Path number 4 is sort of a hybrid. This is both descriptive and evocative. So Hearth Home Organizing or Spark Payroll Services. You kind of get the best of both worlds with those first 2 paths. The con to this is that sometimes it might get a little long, so just keep it really tight if you choose this direction. And path number 5 is invented. It's a made-up word that's just short and sticky. Think of things like Expedia or Shopify. They're unique and they're protectable. You can trademark that if you show that you came up with it first. The downside of this is that it's going to need some more brand storytelling up front. If you weren't already familiar with Expedia, you might not know what they do. So be prepared to have to explain the brand if you go this direction. Now, if you're a local service or a product brand, then descriptive or hybrid is usually the fastest route to clarity. If you're online first, or you plan to expand into different categories, then that evocative or even invented path can give you more room to grow. Now, there are 3 different tests that you can use to test out your top name ideas. So once you have a smattering of ideas kind of in mind, then choose these tests. Test number 1 would be the radio test. Say the name of your potential business out loud to a friend. Ask them to spell it back. If they need help or they ask questions, then it fails this test. You need to adjust or maybe simplify the name. The second test would be the written test. Show the written name to someone for 5 seconds and then take it away and ask them to repeat it to you, to pronounce it. If they stumble, well, it fails this test. Shorten it or change the word that trips them up, okay? And then test number 3 is the search test. Do a quick online search with your business name. Are there pages and pages of results that are unrelated to the business that you're building? Is there a famous brand or institution with the same name or something very similar? If the name that you're choosing seems to align with companies that are not in the same niche as you, or if there are brands out there with similar names and yours may end up buried on page 7 of the search results, then maybe you're going to consider tweaking this name. Add a geographic or category word, or shift to a hybrid naming model. Now, when you're testing this, if 2 names perform similarly, then pick the one that you can say confidently on a phone call. Your voice is part of your brand. What about some basic availability checks without going down a rabbit hole here? Once you decide on a name, we need to check for availability. Now, we're not going to do a full legal deep dive today, and I'm not giving any legal advice, but we are going to avoid obvious conflicts. So here's your quick checklist. Search engines. Look for exact matches in your category. If there are some, then you need to change. Social handles. Aim for consistent usernames across all the platforms or some close alternatives. For example, my garden consulting and education company is Just Grow Something, and I host the Just Grow Something podcast. On most socials, I am just at Just Grow Something. But on one platform, that was already taken. So I had to choose Just Grow Something podcast, even though that's not the only thing that company does. So check the social media platforms that you intend to market yourself on to see what handles are available for consistency. And finally, domain ideas. You don't need the perfect .com on day one. Try yourbrand.com, yourbrand.co, yourbrandhq.com. Again, the growth table was not available in .com or .co or any of the things that made sense, but growth table SBC was, and I can tie that into the small business collective. So that made the most sense, even though that's not the only thing that company does. So if you really can't find something that works, you might reconsider the business name altogether because you might get lost in all of those other company sites. And then finally, check your local business registry, okay? If your area requires registrations, make sure that the name you've chosen is available, okay? And also, take a quick look at trademarks to see if someone in your category clearly owns that exact name or phrase. If so, you're going to have to change. Now, if you run into problems locally and there's a collision in your category, then maybe you adjust the wording. So if originally you were going to be hearth organizing, you might change it to hearth home organizing. If you were Bright Path Coaching, you might become Bright Path Business Coaching. Whatever is going to differentiate you from somebody else who is already using that name. Now remember, this is not legal advice. If you are investing heavily into your brand or you are selling nationwide, consider getting a professional on board to do these checks for you. But for most of us, these cursory checks are just going to be fine. Now, once you choose a name, you need a brand starter that keeps everything consistent without a design degree, okay? And this is more than just a logo and colors and fonts. We're going to build this in 4 parts: voice, values, visuals, and the story. So for your voice, we're going to use 3 words. Pick 3 adjectives that describe how you sound. For example, warm, direct, practical, or calm, encouraging, no nonsense. These guide your emails, your captions, your website, everything that your brand puts out there in its own voice, okay? The second is values. You want 3 to 5 principles. So, for example, simple over flashy, evidence before trends, transparency in pricing, respect for your time, okay? Those values help you decide what to offer, what to avoid, and how to respond when something goes sideways. Next is your visuals. Keep it minimal, okay? So for your fonts, you want one for headings, one for your subheaders, and one for your body text. Keep them easy to read, but something that also fits your style. Free system fonts are perfectly fine. You do not have to come up with your own font or typeface. Consistency is going to beat out fancy. So make yourself a guide that clearly shows which font you use for which thing, and then use it every time you do any kind of marketing. For your color palette, choose one main color and one neutral. That's it. If you want, you can add an accent, but you can also do this later on. Make sure that text is readable in these colors. We want it high contrast, but not obnoxious. And then for a logo, just start with a word mark, your name in your heading font. There is no need to spend a bunch of money here yet. You can refine this later on once revenue actually validates the brand, and it's a super easy change to make from using a word mark to an actual logo with a graphic. It also gives you some more time to define your brand, which gives you something to go on when you design an actual logo or have someone design one for you. And then finally, your story. This should be one sentence, okay? Use this fill in and keep it everywhere. We help blank solve blank so they can blank through blank. All right, so for example, let's say it's we help your audience solve their problem so they can desired outcome through your offer. So we help new food truck owners price profitably so they can pay themselves from day one through simple menus, cost sheets, and weekly coaching. Okay? Or we help busy families eat well on a budget so dinner time is calm through weekly meal plans and 30-minute prep sessions. Put that sentence on your homepage, your bio, and your social profiles. It is your North Star for your brand. Mine? I help micro business owners and solopreneurs understand business basics so they can focus on the things that drive profits and light them up through coaching, podcasting, and an online community. All right, so some quick do's and don'ts. We want to choose clarity over being clever, right? It might be cute, but if potential customers or clients don't understand what it means, you're going to spend more time explaining what you do than doing what you do, okay? Keep everything readable. Your fonts and your colors don't necessarily need to be fancy or flashy depending on your niche. I mean, if what your niche is fancy and flashy, then fine, but most of us, we don't need that. And save your brand starter in a single page so you can have it for reference right there, all right? What we don't want to do is don't pick 6 colors, don't pick 6 fonts, don't design for a future empire if you're serving one audience right now, okay? And then don't rebrand every time you see a cool new palette somewhere or a neat new trend. Stick with your initial designs for 6 months and then measure the results. Then consider tweaking. Okay, and so what happens if you already have a name, you have a name in mind, but now you're second guessing yourself? If your current name passes the sayable, spellable, searchable, and stretchable test, and your customers can find you, then keep it, right? Fix your brand starter first. Sharpen your message. Tighten up your visuals. And get consistent for 90 days. If you still feel friction after that, then consider a rename. The name of our company isn't necessarily what's going to drive business. It's just a way to get people in the door, whether that's virtually or physically. Okay, so let's pull it all together. Great business names are sayable, spellable, searchable, and stretchable, okay? Choose a naming path to help you get started in deciding on a name, whether it's descriptive, evocative, the founder, hybrid, or something invented. And then run the radio test, the written test, and the search test. Do basic availability checks and adjust your name if there is a collision. And then put together your one-page brand starter, your voice, your values, your visuals, and a one-sentence story. Remember, consistency beats complexity, especially in your first 90 days. If you want a sanity check, Read your brand story out loud. If you can say it confidently, then you're ready. Next week, we'll cover business structures in plain English, sole proprietor, LLC, and S Corp. So you can pick the right setup for now and know maybe when to change later. No jargon, just simple decision filters. And if today's episode sparked ideas and you'd like a calm space to keep building off social media, come join us in the Growth Table Small Business Collective. We host monthly workshops, we keep a growing resource library, and we offer peer-to-peer support plus access to me for questions and simple guidance. It's a low-pressure way to get consistent help while you grow your business. You'll find us at growthtablesbc.com, and the link is in the show notes. You got this. I'm cheering you on. See you next Wednesday.